Hello, and welcome to another episode of Career Retrospectives, right here on the Super Review Show. I am joined by my two wonderful gents, Kyle and Mike. What's going on, guys?
Ooh, we're wonderful now.
Woo! Yeah. Wonderful.
We're stepping up our game now, aren't we?
Yeah. Besides
All
me,
right.
who's having technical difficulties, sorry, no background today. Just pulled this together by the skin of my teeth. So there we go.
You're doing great. Mike,
What a Nimrod.
Well done, Kyle. Well done. Relevant.
What a Nimrod. But so as the title of this video podcast, however you want to call it, it is suggesting we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of one of Green Day's most pioneering band albums in general, Nimrod, from 1997. Is that correct, Kyle?
Yep.
So this was Kyle's pick. I'm gonna let him go first. But so Kyle, 25 years of Nimrod. Are you happy with it? Did you like the deluxe edition? Because I know you got the deluxe edition. What do you got? What are your overall impressions? What do you got?
Yeah, so I mean, Nimrod's one of my favorite albums of all time. We briefly discussed it when JT, me and you did our career breakdown of Green Day. That was probably almost a year ago, maybe a little more than that. Quite a while ago, before Mike joined us.
Yeah.
So
Pre-Mike.
Yeah. So 25 years, it still holds up incredibly well. It still sounds fresh. I always argue that this is the most experimental album by the band, for many reasons, which we'll get into when we talk about specific songs. But as a whole, it's always been one of my top Green Day records. For the longest time, it was top 3. I would say it still goes in and out of top 3, but it's always been a top 5. Very close to top 3, if anything. And I never get sick of this. I can hear every song over and over. It always stays fresh every time. It's a record that I don't just pick certain songs to go back to. I always go back to the entire record. And the deluxe edition, I'll get into it more specifically when we discuss track lists and things like that. But the demos were such a great way to get like a peek into the writing process of this album, which had a notorious difficult time with lyrics. It's the only album that Billy Joe went in to the recording studio with no lyrics written. And he said, no, never again will he do that. And some of the demos, you can definitely see that process. Most of the demos that are songs that we had already heard on this first verse is just repeated as the second verse. So you can kind of tell, he didn't have much to go on. And then some of the tracks have completely different lyrics. Some were altered to be future songs. It's a great peek into that. I love the cover of Allison by Elvis Costello. That's one of my favorite songs of all time. So I love to finally get a Green Day version of that. Known it's been floating out there for a little while now. And then, the live set was excellent. It really captured the energy of the band. They're always been my top live band of all time. I could see them as many times. They could play the same set list every time I see them, and it's always fun. It's always a good time. And the live set was also recorded on my second birthday. Fun fact there. But
Nice.
this is a record I'll always go back to. I never get tired of it. It's top tier Green Day. Really firing on all cylinders creatively, in terms of musicianship, songwriting wise, top tier. Excellent record.
Awesome, yeah. And for those who don't know, Kyle is the Green Day guy. No one else comes close to Green Day than him. He is the insider scoop guy as well.
Kyle, you should have had some effect on your video where you're actually green. That would have been a kind of
oh god, yeah, you're right. Missed opportunity here.
You've done the cow. Well, now you need to have the Hulk. You need to Hulk out. When you talk about Green Day, you go into Hulk mode. That'd be legit.
Straight up, that'd be pretty cool. I'm actually, I'll go next. I'll share my opinion of the album and whatnot, and on the 25th anniversary box set too. Now, mind you, I don't have the box set. I did not order it. I know I didn't order it, but I did listen to it as well. I didn't know that they were I shouldn't say I didn't know that. I should say it like this. This is definitely a great album from start to finish, as far as like just in general. And then going into the late 90s, you know, coming off of, what was it, Insomniac?
Yep.
Coming off of that and going into a more experimental territory for them. I thought, I mean, just it's a brilliant move in general. I mean, the acoustic ballad "Good Riddance, Time of Your Life" is in my top 25 favorite songs of all time, for more reasons than one. But it is definitely that single alone, plus a lot of the experimentation on like songs like "Hitchin' a Ride" or "King for a Day." Like this is an album that really should stand out to more people than it does. I feel like, in my opinion, I mean, don't get me wrong, it does, but I feel like if you're looking for a Green Day record to get into more than just Dookie or American Idiot, I would actually say, or even 21st Century Breakdown. I know that's your favorite album of all time, Kyle. But I will say that I would say if you want to go into like pre-American Idiot Green Day, so I say Dookie and then Nimrod. Truthfully, I feel like that's the best way to go. If I were to recommend to someone, hey, you know, you listen to Green Day, you know, I'm looking to get into Green Day. What albums can you recommend? I'd say Dookie, then Nimrod, then go into their 2000s stuff and up. You know what I mean? That's just me though. But I didn't know that when we first said we were going to do this, I didn't realize that the Allison cover of was Elvis Costello. I didn't realize that at all until we did that. I was like, oh my god, that's so cool.
Yep, he's actually played it a few years. No, God, not a few years back, but around between, I think it was between American Idiot and 21st Century Breakdown, somewhere around that. I don't remember the exact year. He actually played it live with Elvis Costello, and it's one of his best vocal live performances. One of my favorites.
I didn't know that. This is why we have Kyle here. But for all these random amazing Green Day facts. But yeah, so I had no idea they were doing a cover of that. The other outtakes, like the demos that you do mention, were actually really, I mean, it really definitely showed like where they were going, where they were trying to go with their experimentation of stuff on this record. And yeah, I mean, it's just a stone cold classic Green Day record. And the fact that it's 25 years old makes me feel old too, which is crazy. But I know I turned 25 later this year, which is frightening to me as well.
So the album's older than you.
The album is older than JT.
Yes, that should tell you something.
Well,
yeah,
try like going to the bus stop with your Walkman playing cassette tapes like I was doing, feeling really badass, listening to like, you know, Metallica's Master of Puppets or REM or, you know,
on cassette, mind you, on cassette.
Yeah.
For those of you kids are like, what's a cassette? Shame on you. But yeah, so just Stone Cold classic record. Definitely one of their best albums for sure. I have no doubt about that as well. And yeah, jump over to Mike. Mike, what do you got going into Green Day's Nimrod?
So I have a kind of strange relationship with Green Day, just to kind of give my back story for them. My sister was one of the biggest Green Day fans. She slept with sorry, Christy, I'm going to air out your dirty laundry. She slept with a picture of the bassist laminated so she didn't drool all over it, and literally was in love with that band, all of their styles.
That's just normal for a Green Day fan, Mike. Come on.
Yeah, there you go. And
we've all done it.
Thought I was leading to slept with a band member. No, slept with a picture of the band member. So you know, I obviously saw the videos growing up, and you know, like kind of through her became a fan of them. Not a super fan, not even an amazing fan, but a fan of the attitude and the look and some of the songs catchiness to them. So I kind of only have a relationship with maybe 3 of the albums, maybe 4. What was the one previous to this? Is it Insomniac?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that was the last album I listened to. I never listened to this album. I never listened to any of the previous after material unless Kyle gave it to me as a exchange of album review. Pretty much going into this, I was completely blind, obviously, other than Good Riddance. You know, was that Good Riddance, Time of Your Life? I don't know. That would, yeah. I call it both. So, yeah. So my unfortunate kind of angle that I come at with an album like this is I'm not necessarily a huge fan of the sound that Green Day brings with their songs on the random, I tend to be one of those people that like the hits and the songs that were like the ones that made it through to the mainstream. You know, if you were to play 4 kind of very Green Day-esque type of songs in a row from all four different albums, but none of them were like major songs, like they were just the fan favorites, and then you were to play 4 songs that were major hits and that were actually on a mainstream kind of market, we're all, you know, relatively well known. I think the only thing that would keep me interested in the songs would be the songs that I feel like the hooks and the choruses were interesting enough to go alongside the typical Green Day sound that you hear. So so the style is not technically something that I'm majorly on, but there's interesting things to pull out here and there, and I'll go over that more when I give my rating and breakdown of the tracks. But yeah, it definitely pick and choose, like little. It was a very buffet album for me. I pick here, I see this, oh, that's cool. I like what they're doing here, you know, and you can find those kinds of interesting little aspects.
Sweet. All right. Any other thoughts, initial impressions at all, or we're good to go into the track listing and stuff like that?
Yeah, let's go ahead, track listing, and
we'll get to that in a little bit. It's funny. It was released on October 14th, 1997. I was born on October 15th, 1998. So I feel pretty good right now.
As they said, October what?
October 14th.
14th. Okay, that's 13 days after my birthday, 1997, and I was born 83. So I was like, what, math? Don't fail me now. 14. 14.
Take your time.
Yeah, 14. That's something like almost
14. 14 or so.
14 or so. Yeah. So I mean,
crazy.
Yeah. I was in the silver chair probably at this point. Most likely a little bit later, because I think they came into the picture. Yeah, around there.
Sweet. All right, let's jump over down to the track listing, and I'll read them all off, and we'll go from there. So opening track was Nice Guys Finish Last, Hitching a Ride, The Grouch, Redundant, Scattered, All the Time, Worry Rock, Platypus, I Hate You, Uptight, Last Ride In, Jinx. I'm going to butcher this, Kyle. You want to give me a sec here?
Hoshinka.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Hoshinka. Walking Alone, Reject, Take Back, King for a Day, Good Riddance, Time of Your Life, and Prosthetic Head. And there were some other stuff here too. On the Japanese version, there was Desanitized. Australian version, there was Suffocate, Do Da Da, sorry, and Desensitized, and You Lied. And we'll get to
all of which were on the B-sides compilation Shenanigans 2002.
Okay. I did not know that. See, this is why we have me on. There you go. But yeah, we'll get to the 25th anniversary. Do you want to read those off loud? Or do you want me to read them off now or no?
Yeah, if you want to.
All right, cool.
I'm just gonna cover it all at once. So
yeah, let's do that then.
And I have to say, I haven't listened to any of the bonus material. I just listened to the album as it was.
Yeah.
So just a disclaimer, I don't have any, comments on any of the additional bonus footage and material. I couldn't really get a hold of that. I was mostly just like the main album was all I could find. It was kind of strange.
Yeah, it's all good, Mike. It's all good. But the 25th anniversary deluxe, the 25th anniversary edition bonus disc was the demos. The demos were as follows: Nice Guys Finish Last, Place Inside My Head, The Grouch, Walking Alone, Jinx, Allison by Elvis Costello, Espionage, which was an instrumental, You Irritate Me, Trey Polka, which is another instrumental, When It's Time. I'm sure Kyle's going to touch on that. Desensitized, Chainsaw, a Ramones cover, Reject, and Black Eyeliner. And do you want to go into the live cut at all?
No.
All right, we have to do that. Okay.
No.
Green Day, Mr. Green Day himself, Kyle. What do you got for the track listing? What do you got for the 20th anniversary stuff? What do you got?
Yeah, so Green Day's been a band that, historically speaking, I think has been very, for most albums, very solid at picking singles for the records. With, honestly, I'm going to be honest, the exception of this one, and there's a couple others as well. Good Riddance, absolutely great single. Nice Guys Finish Last. pretty good. Wasn't, hugely successful as a single radio play wise. I would have picked other songs from here, to be honest, as singles. Scattered being one of them. That's one of the best songs in their catalog. Maybe even just switch that one out and I'd be satisfied with the others. I would honestly swap out Redundant for Scattered. Other than that, every song in here is great. I actually love every song here. It has some of their fastest songs on it, and being Platypus and Take Back. Take Back, he does full on like harsh vocals on it. It's great. King for a Day brings in the horn section. Hugely experimental here. Last Ride In being just like a smooth jazz interlude throughout there. Is very nice way to break it up. Lyrically, this is one of my favorite records from them. There's a lot of like personal lyrics on here that I find hit home pretty well. Like Walking Alone's one. The Grouch is one that I think everyone can relate to as they continue to get older. I feel like I relate to it more and more every year. Yeah, I mean, again, it's excellent. We've talked about it before, so I'm not going to get too crazy into specifics. But in terms of the demo stuff, the new stuff, that's what I want to hit on the most. All of the demos were really solid, but honestly better than I thought they were going to be. I thought the sound quality was going to be, pretty rough being in demos, but it ended up being pretty decent. The songs were mostly like fleshed out. You Irritate Me being one of the new ones. I enjoyed that quite a bit. Wasn't too fond of the Chainsaw cover by the Ramones. It's not one of my favorite Ramones songs, so it's cool that we got it. Trey Polka, just a dumb polka instrumental from Trey Cool. It's cool enough. I anticipated it being an early version of the song DUI that was shelved and only leaked out there. That's a song they decided it was supposed to be on Shenanigans, but they decided it was too irresponsible to release a song about drinking and driving. Fair enough, but I thought it might make the light of day here officially. A lot of the ones that we've already heard, like I mentioned earlier, they just replaced the second verse with the first verse. Some of them have changed up lyrics here and there. Mostly Desensitized has almost entirely different lyrics from the final product, which I actually thought was a really cool touch because it gives the song a totally different feeling and vibe. It makes it a more angsty, angry song than it was. When it's time, it makes me mad to see it on here. And I say that because there's versions of this song going back from like pre-Dookie days. This is a song that he'd been toying with for quite some time. Never released. That means it went unreleased on Dookie, unreleased on Insomniac, unreleased on Nimrod, Warning, and American Idiot, and even Shenanigans, the B-side compilation, and 21st Century Breakdown, only to be released on the Broadway musical soundtrack. Finally.
Wow.
Such a long time. Such a nice song. It's not like top tier Green Day or anything, but it's a nice little love song that he wrote. And finally, it was released. But it's a nice little demo of it. Nothing crazy. The one that really stood out to me the most was Black Eyeliner, because that gave the light of day to two different songs that weren't released until years later. One of them over a decade later. More than that, actually. But it gave rise to Church on Sunday, the entire chorus of Black Eyeliner, just Church on Sunday, that chorus. And that's one of his best choruses, in my opinion. And then the vocal melody of the verses ended up being the vocal melody to Kill Your Friends by his side project, The Long Shot. And that wasn't out until like 2017 or 2018, one of those. So that's really cool for me to see that as a fan, to see like where these songs took their shape. And I hope they do this for future releases too, because I would be really curious to see where they pulled, ideas for other songs, because I know that's something that he does. And that's one of the reasons that in the past they've been kind of hesitant to put out unreleased things, because he does pull ideas from, this was a solid idea. Part of this song we demoed years ago was, I like that. Let me see if I could pull that into a new song. But I like seeing that as a fan, like once everything's fully done. I think that's why we got this one now, is all the ideas that were present in it have now come out. Another one I'm not personally too fond of, I guess we place Inside My Head. It's okay. It's cool. Mike Dirnt has full vocals on this one. He does full lead vocals. It's cool to hear. I could see why it didn't make the record. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my thoughts on it. Espionage demo, I guess the last thing I'd say would be that was kind of pointless to include. It's really not much different than the finalized version of it. It's pretty much the same. But yeah, I love this project. It made me feel super nostalgic going back and listening to it again. It is an album that I listened to multiple times throughout the years anyway. But, you know, hearing the demos just made me feel super nostalgic. And then the live show attached to it, it's great. It does the job of really making you feel like you're at a Green Day show. The sound quality on this too was excellent. It wasn't like one of those live shows that, you know, this was actually recorded to be released back at that show. He even told the crowd, like, we're recording a live album tonight, and then for whatever reason it never was released until now. So the sound quality isn't just like, oh well, here's some recordings of this we found lying around. They left the banter in, so it feels full and complete. And yeah, I mean, that's it for me. You know, Good Riddance is one of the classic songs of all time. You know, that's.
Now, would you say there's some tracks you don't like on this at all, or are they all 10s?
Oh, this is a 10 out of 10 album for me.
But would you say there's a weaker track? There's a, like, if you were gun to your head, you had to say some tracks don't flow with you as much as the rest of the album. Would you say there's anything, or is it just everything is?
The only one I could probably pinpoint, if I had to, would probably be, but I think it works. See, this is the tough thing, is I think it works in the context of the album.
In the album, right?
The album, like, Take Back and Last Ride In are probably the two for me. You know, Last Ride In I like as a interlude. I think it does the job very well, but it's not something I would go back and, you know, put on. But in the context of the record, I never skip it. Same thing with Take Back. It works very well to break up kind of the ending there and add like another like jolt of energy into it. It's not one that I generally find myself going on like Spotify or YouTube and being like, I'm gonna go listen to Take Back right now.
Yeah, it's like it belongs in the albums, which is why I always told people, like, sometimes a band will have songs that, like, you're less likely to want to hear out of the whole album feeling, and like they kind of all go alongside of each other, versus, like, you know, like a song you can just pull out and play in any kind of playlist at any time of the day, morning. You know, I'm not one of those people that, like, oh, when I don't want to hear something loud when it's in the morning, or I want to hear something cool. I can listen to any style of music at any time, but there are some songs that are too slow or don't have lyrics and are just a musical interlude that won't fit with, like, the attitude of the day or the flow of the day. And, like, I could see where that one fits in an album versus not outside of an album. Although those songs could be used in a movie or some kind of scene in a show where there's just no lyrics and it's just kind of like stylistic, whatever, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I guess I could also throw in there one that doesn't work without the other. I don't think Hoshinka works without Jinx leading into it. It's actually a song that was demoed for Dookie back in the day, and that demo is floating around out there. You can hear that. You know, it doesn't really work for me standalone, but in context of the album and with Jinx before it works very well for me.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I think Good Riddance was actually recorded for Insomniac. That was the original version, was for Insomniac, and I can 100% see why it wasn't released for that. It wouldn't have fit in at all on Insomniac. Right. Insomniac's by far their angriest, probably most punk record, if you want to go with those terms. But really, it's a great thing that it was released, because I think that this kind of jumped, not that their career was hurting at all, but, you know, Insomniac, they even knew that it wasn't going to sell as well as Dookie did. It just didn't have that mainstream sound to it. This kind of kickstarted them in the mainstream a little bit again after a few years. And it's great. That's pretty much where I land on. It's a 10 out of 10 record for me.
Cool. I'm gonna go next if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So my standout tracks, the ones I go back to the most. When I say standout tracks, these are ones that I could go back to on a whim, similar to Mike's point, and say, like, look, I can listen to any kind of music at any point in the day. Like if I'm feeling Metallica, I'm gonna put on Metallica. If I feel like I'm gonna put on Burt Bacharach jazz, I'm gonna put on Burt Bacharach. Whatever, could be anything. I'll put on any music at any given time, but there are certain songs from here that I do go back to more so than I thought I did. Those tracks are Nice Guys Finish Last, Hitching a Ride, Redundant, Scattered. I love. It's just you didn't really touch on it too much, but Scattered. If you did, you mentioned he didn't really write the lyrics until like the recording process. Is that right?
Yeah, for a majority of the songs, he went in to the studio without lyrics.
Yeah, and
the music came first on this one. Okay,
so for a guy who had music, for a lyricist is Billy Joe Armstrong, who's a very talented lyricist. I will say that, just in general, and going in to make a song like Scattered. If you really break down Scattered, the lyrics on it are really like emotionally driven. And when you first said that he actually did not, when you first said that he like didn't come into the studio with lyrics, I was like, what? Because the first thing that popped in my head was actually Scattered, believe it or not. Because like if you listen to that song, it's a really like deep song to an extent. I mean, for with the Green Day upbeat like guitar and bass and whatnot with it too. It's such a great song overall.
A lot of these songs have that like deep meaning to them that kind of goes overlooked when you look at like meaningful Green Day songs. I mean, look at like Uptight, Worry Rock, Walking Alone.
Yeah, I was gonna get that too. We're Walking Alone, and the experimentation on it too is you're like, all right, whatever. It's Walking Alone. When you listen to it though, and you listen to the lyrics, and you listen to like, I know it sounds great, but like a harmonica, like you listen to that, and you're like, wow, this really shows that this band that I thought at the time was like 4 or 5 years ago was just going like, I've got no motivation. Where is my motivation in Longview? Then going to Walking Alone, to songs like Scattered, to songs like Walking Alone, and even in King for a Day. I mean, it's like a little childish at the same time, but it's still worth listening to, with the horns in there too. I mean, there's so many great. So I'm getting sidetracked. Forgive me. Sorry. Next Guys Finish Last, Hitching a Ride, Redundant, Scattered. Platypus is it's fast, and I like that it's really, really, really fast. I've always liked that. Walking Alone, King for a Day, and Good Riddance, Time of Your Life. As I said, Good Riddance is in my top 25 favorite songs of all time. But those are the ones that I go back to a lot, and I could listen to those songs all the time, any day of the week, no matter what. I don't care what I'm doing. I can just listen to it and I'm good. I want to bring up something. I want Kyle just to shed some light on it. You're happy that the album did not end on Good Riddance.
Absolutely.
It ended on Prosthetic Head. Because, I mean, if you think about it, ending on Good Riddance is not a bad thing. But if you ended on Prosthetic Head, it's like, oh, it ended on that note instead of that note. You know what I mean?
There's something to be said about albums and how most people, I don't even want to say these days because it's been a thing for decades now, that people feel like the need to end a record on a slow note or a ballad, which is fine. It works in a lot of scenarios. But I don't think it would work for an album like this. For an album that had really no other ballads beforehand, other than, I guess you could argue, redundant to an extent, having it kick in with Prosthetic Head, with like a little static right after Good Riddance. Because you listen to it, you hear Good Riddance, you're like, oh, that's probably it. And then it kicks in that static, and then it's so slowly, and then it just evolves into this big, like, bombastic ending. And it really ends the record in the way it should be. It starts off super fast and energetic, and Nice Guys Finish Last, and it ends the same way with the ending of Prosthetic Head. That's the way that they should have ended this one. I couldn't imagine it any different. I think, Revolution Radio, another one of my favorite Green Day records. I'm just going to use this for an example. I love the song Ordinary World. I really enjoy it. It should not have been the album closer. The album should have ended with Forever Now. That would have been the perfect bookended ending. And they could have, if they want to keep Ordinary World, they could have put it somewhere else on the record.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, and but but those are those are the tracks that I go back to the most. Thank you for that. I know we touched on that when we did our career discography breakdown of Green Day. As far as I just want to touch on the demos for a sec. Hearing a lot of these really was very interesting, and on how they were going from we're gonna go to here's a demo for Nice Guys Finish Last. Here's a demo for Walking. Just hearing how I love it when artists do this in general. They release demos for songs in general, and it really shows the evolution of the song process, the creation of music in general. And I love it. And the Allison cover I thought was great. They released that as well. When It's Time, correct me if I'm wrong, you did say at one point they closed out a show with When It's Time, right? Because they played it live,
Didn't close it out, but they played towards the ending. He did a little acoustic medley and included that. That was before, I think it was before it was released, or it was right around when it was officially released. It was actually one of the shows that I saw them at in Connecticut.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember you saying that to me, because you were like, I have a demo of When It's Time on my phone. And I love it.
That's an old one from. Oh God, no! They played that live before Dookie. I think that one's from.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. That was that's a real old one.
Yeah, I was about to say, because I knew you were like, oh my God, I have this recording. I'm like, wow, dude, that's wild. Anyways, but we're forgetting that this guy is here. But Mike, what's going on?
It was from 1992, by the way, JT.
Oh, that recording was?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yep, I just looked up on my phone.
Oh my God.
I know. I wish I had more of the demo understanding that they put in this album and the whole, building of it. But it was just kind of I was focusing on just listening to the album and experiencing that for the first time, versus knowing the true history of it and how this song was not there, that song wasn't. It was definitely I think it's interesting if you don't have nostalgia when you listen to an album that comes that was made a long time ago and you listen to it today, your perception of it is much more of a cut, very black and white vision of it, where someone else can nostalgically I remember listening to these songs, or when it came, when I listened to it, it was it rocked my world because I hadn't really been into other things like it. Coming back to it, where the music I've heard now definitely changes your perception of it. So for me, this album definitely wasn't my favorite, and it kind of it rung on
Mike, you're killing me.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's the heartbreaker.
I got love for you, brother. Listen, you know me. I've got to be the villain, and unfortunately, it wasn't a bad album, but it definitely just okay. So here's my analogy for it. You have a big old bowl of spinach, cooked spinach. I love cooked spinach. It's great. But after eating cooked spinach too much, it starts to get a little bit of that irony taste to it, earthy taste to it. And you begin to kind of it just wears out its welcome. And you're because that's why you have spinach as a side dish, not a main course. So for me, this album was kind of like that. There's only so many times I can hear songs that have a different arrangement of 3 or 4 chords, that's kind of been Green Day's thing, it'll just be then the next song will be you know what I mean? They kind of do those rearrangement of chords that my brain, and it's nothing to do with the album. Album is absolutely justified in its genre and its fan base as the thing that they all want to hear. But for someone from me, going back to what I did was, as I listened to this album, I actually went back and listened to the album previous or 2 albums previous, just to see if I felt the same way. about the previous albums than this. And like those unfortunate albums have the nostalgia attached to them, that where I hear those songs, I'm like, oh yeah, that song's great. But I think to myself, they're almost similar in my opinion of what the music presents versus Nimrod, what it presents. They have a similar thing. It's just I've listened to those albums, I know those songs, and I feel different about them than I feel about this one, just because I have the nostalgia attached to it. So that is the unfair advantage to those albums versus this one. But just listening to it as a music critic, it just kind of wore on those. So it wore out its welcome as time went by, and that kind of hurt it in my opinion. Like where it's like after you get through 10 songs, you kind of get a little burnt out from some of the style, and that's that's all on me. That's all the type of person, musical person I am today versus who I was, who would like be listening to 10 songs and be like, I can't get enough of it, you know what I mean? And like that was me back in the day. I was like that guy, but now I like, unfortunately, the person I am today just gets like a little burned out. So just going over, I'm gonna go just down the list of like, we'll start at 10. There was no 10 on this album. 9 was Good Riddance. For me, that's, I mean, I'm sorry, Kyle. I'm sorry.
Mike, you just keep hurting me.
Hold on. Kyle, stay with me, Kyle. Good Riddance. That's a 9 out of 10. I mean, it was my brother's graduation song. I think it was everyone's graduation song. Who am I kidding? And it really is one of those songs that it stands out from the album because it's an acoustic guitar, that's played in a different structure. It feels like someone sitting down and playing to a group of people who are kind of all listening on. You feel like you're sitting in an audience of people listening to someone play a song that's inspiring you about its lyrics. And I think that's when you can invoke that on a recording, a visual image of someone kind of sitting down and just playing a guitar rather than just hearing music and not putting a face behind the music. It personalizes it in a lot of ways. So that's really cool, and it's got a good environment to it, and I really enjoy that song. Then we're gonna go. We have a bunch of 7s on this album. We'll start off at Scattered. Scattered is a great song. Like I actually might even bump that up after more listens. I agree completely, wholeheartedly with JT. Scattered and Redundant, as well as as bizarre, absolutely bizarre as King for a Day was, with the Mexican clown circus that kind of came into town. Like I personally felt that the album needed to break up from its kind of monotonous, like I said, so playing out that kind of style that Green Day does, that it doesn't sit well with me after a marathon listen, which is why Green Day has always been a playlist band for me, because the songs that I really enjoy are the ones where the chorus is super catchy. If it's just the riffs, I'm not so like captivated by a lot of the riffs that they're bringing, the punk rock feel, without the other kinds of elements to it that keep me interested. But Redundant, Scattered, 7.5, I would say in that realm, followed by King for a Day at 7. Still like interesting song, kind of goes in different directions, which me, I've always liked that deal. And then we have a bunch of 6s on this album. Nice Guys Finish Last. That could have been a higher song, but it was just kind of repetitive. And I've never been a repetitive guy in this sound, when the punk rock feel, like with the just kind of like didn't really love the chorus, which I'm a chorus guy. I can't help it. If the chorus isn't on point, I tend to feel less enthusiastic about the song, unless it does things musically that kind of make my brain go, ooh, we're this is something that's just like amazing and has takes me on a journey or does some interesting things. It's pretty straightforward. So yeah, Nice Guys Finish. That's the Grouch. It was simple, doesn't bring much, but not bad. It was just kind of a simple, it has a simple quality to it that I could listen to and not turn the song, but I wouldn't necessarily go back and listen to it on the frequent. Let's see here. All the time, kind of in that 6 realm too. Warrior Rock was a 6.5. Yeah, that was a decent song. Like, but still, I just wasn't. This isn't my sound that I'm super excited to listen to. But I appreciate the passion and the genre itself and what it has brought into music and the attitude. I think that's more so for me. What I get out of albums like this is the attitude and the kind of carefree quality that I hear when I listen to this music. It gives me a very upbeat kind of cruising, almost like you're in a car in California cruising along, and I could play any of this music while driving and never not turn any track because I'd just be enjoying the sights and kind of the sounds of the road and be focusing less kind of directly on the music, and it just be kind of like the sounds of a California, punk band, you know what I mean? It really gets that feeling. So then Platypus, the fast song, once again the chorus I didn't really like. Then we come down to some fives. I would say probably Hitching a Ride, Prosthetic Head, Hashinka, I guess that's what it's called. Definitely, Reject. And then I really didn't like the songs that were lyrical, no lyrics, just kind of musical interludes. They were cool, and I think they'd be great on I was saying before, a TV show. It would be a cool little scene where I forget which one it is, but it has a kind of a very California kind of in the desert kind of feel to it. I can't remember which one it was, but it's probably
Last Ride In.
Last Ride In. Yeah, it's exactly what it's trying to do. And in a song that I thought I'd like more, but I thought the growling was cringe, was that Take Back song. Was Take Back? No.
Yeah,
Take Back. I was just this feels, it doesn't fit. It feels like somebody, and a lot of and for me personally, this album felt very scattered, a lot of different things going on.
Pun intended.
What do you say?
Pun intended there.
Pun intended. Scattered. Oh, you got me, Kyle. But I mean, scattered actually made me feel like the old days of Green Day, to be honest with you. I actually might even think an 8 on that one, because it kind of like I was saying, I agree with completely with JT. It was actually one of the songs where I liked it better than the first song that started on the album, which I think was that one that was a major single, or people, is that a
what, Scattered?
Last Guy's finished, or
Nice Guys Finished Last. No, it occasionally makes it was a single. It was decently big. It occasionally makes a live performance. Scattered gets played pretty consistently live for the past few years.
Yeah, and no dig at Green Day. It's just completely my personal opinion, my own personal musical.
Nope, Mike, you're muted.
Sorry about that.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, sorry. Once again, I'm on my phone, so
we're technical difficulties already.
Yeah, what did you say?
Technical difficulties already. Go.
Yeah, it's just I'm on my phone, so unfortunately I'm trying to I'm probably gonna get a call back, but I have to set myself to what do you call it, ringtone-less. But
Great.
What did you say?
You're doing great.
No, thank you. But overall, it just kind of, it definitely isn't my style. It takes a very special song with a very catchy chorus for me to be super captivated by music that is simple, kind of riffs that are played in succession, kind of that. I've never been a punk rock guy, but I've been a punk rock influenced guy. So music that's influenced by punk rock rather than its core in punk rock. So this is my take on it. Nothing to do with the band. Um, yeah, that's just my take. My bad, Kyle. My bad, Kyle. We still brothers, man.
Mike, I thought we might be slightly on the same page here, but no.
I know.
Boo! No, I'm just kidding.
Ooh, I'm the villain. I'm the villain.
So, Mike, where's Uptight and Walking Alone and Jinx fit on yours?
Sorry, I didn't even. I might have skipped over. Uptight 6, Jinx 6, and then what was the other one?
Walking Alone.
Walking Alone 6. Yeah, actually, they were all.
Okay.
Said,
I'll take it.
Walking Along song doesn't know how to transition well from different parts of the song is what I wrote for the notes on that. And then Jinx was, I didn't even put notes for that one, so I don't know why, but I think I just kind of like, I just was like, when I was hearing things that were similar, I would just kind of like, I'd be like, oh, 6, like I've heard this. I feel like I've heard this song, but it feels a little bit different. So I'm going to put that down, as like a 6 was my general. And then when something piqued my interest, it was like 7. And then obviously as iconic as Good Riddance is, I would have done a 10. But to be honest with you, I couldn't give that song a 10 for the simple fact that I like the song, but I tend to go, if I were to put all of my Green Day favorite songs in a order of best to last, it would probably be of the best songs towards the middle-ish bottom to bottom of the best songs, just because I like the song, but it doesn't like blow me away as much as the other ones do, partially because of nostalgia, partially because of something that happens in the song that I really captures me, so yeah.
Sweet. Is there any other comments for the track listing and all? We touched on the demos. We didn't even have to touch on the live concert though, right?
No.
Okay. Anything else at all other than just recapping and giving our final ratings for Nimrod?
No, I think we're ready to rock and rizzle.
All right, let's rock and rizzle back over here. So I'm gonna let the Q-inator, Kyle, Green Day fanatic, go first. I think we're here to give it away, but let's just
I mean it's a 10. It's a 10 out of 10 album for me. But I'm not gonna rate the demos or anything. You can't really rate demos. It's not the final product. It was things that were never really meant to be heard, and it's just little extras that we got. So for what they're worth, they're really cool. There's a couple in there, even the ones that I probably won't go back and listen to. I love that we got them. They're super cool to just hear the process, especially since it's one of my favorite albums of all time. Green Day is one of those bands for me that about half of their discography is just a straight 10 out of 10 record for me, at least the ones that are in my top 5 and maybe even beyond that. But yeah, it's very rare for Green Day to disappoint me with an album. It hasn't really happened yet, I'm gonna be honest. Even the ones that I'm not as fond of, or they're still up there, and this is up there with the best of them. It's up there with American Idiot, 21st Century Breakdown for me. Those are kind of like the big 3, and this one and Revolution Radio kind of flip-flop for that number 3 spot, depending on kind of what mood I'm in. But yeah, I mean, it's a 10 out of 10. Again, the live show does a great job. I mean, a live album from Green Day never disappoints. It has all that energy. I did like that they kept the stage banter in on this one. Kept it more like in a lot of the other ones, like Bullet in the Bible and things like that. They tend to get rid of a lot of the between song banter that was going on. It kind of makes it feel, I understand why you cut it down for a live album, but it kind of makes it feel like a little more disjointed. This feels just very consistent throughout. So yeah, I mean, 10 out of 10. If I'm gonna rate the whole anniversary release, I'd give it obviously 10 out of 10. I think it's very well done. I hope this is a trend that we continue to see. Last year or 2 years ago, we got the Insomniac 25th anniversary, which that one was, they gave the remaster of the record, which I thought that was really good. It actually sounded different. A lot of times when a remaster comes out, I'm usually disappointed with it because it doesn't do much. That one did. Would have liked some demos for that, but we got a live show. It's fine. So I really hope this is the thing that they continue to do for anniversaries, really just break open that vault. And if this is the era of Green Day that we're in, that is now looking back and, you know, accepting that they might just be a legacy act at this point. You know, they're definitely going to continue releasing music, and, you know, I'm super excited for that more than anything. They're currently working on a record right now. But, you know, if we're in the era of the band where they're starting to realize that, yeah, maybe we are kind of mostly a legacy act and people kind of want to hear this special stuff, you know, I'm all for that. Super looking forward to what comes next, you know, next year is Dookie's 30th anniversary.
Woo!
Beyond that, the next one will be Warning's 25th anniversary. So, you know, keep it coming.
Cheers.
Sure, yeah, sheesh. Ooh.
Mike's feeling even older now, huh?
I know, man. That's crazy. That's nuts. 30th anniversary.
Yeah, it's crazy. Mike, do you want to go next, or do you want me to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. Something I forgot to mention was it drove me kind of nuts when I was listening to this album, where I could almost predict the way he was going to end his sentences. Like, okay, he would do that vocal line, and I was like, I've heard that so many times from like their previous material, you know what I mean, from like their original albums, that like it was almost like he was like not sure how to vocally end a line, so it almost sounded like he was recreating like the old like he would do that, and I would just be like, it would drive me nuts because I'm like, oh, it's that like you could do something different than that because you did that in your previous albums. You know what I mean? It was just a small thing that while I was listening to it, I would almost try to predict it by ending the line and see if I could nail it. And it was just kind of like, it just felt like someone rehashing their old stuff. So but yeah, like I was saying before, there's a lot of like just mid stuff for me here to mid to like, you know, a little bit peaking above mid, but yeah, like it just not enough on here for me to really be like stimulated the way like I tend to like listen to music today and kind of search within it for something that grips me, like the chorus wise or just the song wise. So yeah, it's definitely like a 6 out of 10 for me, whatever that you know you know it equates on the scale of the of the 5, but yeah, 6 out of 10. I was gonna say 5.5, but I went with 6 just because you know, it definitely grows on you as you some of the less kind of like similar songs kind of grow on you. But yeah, like it's definitely a harder genre for me to feel super ecstatic about unless it absolutely takes a progressive route with its style, kind of blends it more with which I think they did with 21st Century Breakdown. I think I actually prefer that album over this, when Kyle had me listen to that, just because I look back on it now and think, wow, it definitely goes off in a lot more different directions than I think this one does, and it kind of throws more curveballs at you than I think this one did. This one started to do that, but it definitely wasn't enough to save it from like the lack of catchiness that I needed, you know, riff wise, chorus wise, all that kind of thing. So yeah, 6 out of 10.
All right, and then I guess it all comes down to me. So
Later. Come on now.
All right. So all right.
JT Maloney. No, I'm just kidding.
Stop it. Stop it.
Maloney.
I swear, do something. No.
Do something.
No, but reality though, this is I would say, if I said this from the top when I was giving my overall initial impressions. If you're looking to get into Green Day, I would go listen to Dookie and American Idiot first, and then go to this afterwards. Truthfully, that's just me. There was a lot of different experimentation. You could by the demos as well, but we're not rating the demos; we're just rating the album. The demos, you know, they weren't full songs, but I will say though that the actual album that we got though in 1997, I feel old still, because given literally a year before I was born, like directly, which is crazy. But I love it. It's not a 10 out of 10 for me personally, but I will say it is a solid 8.9 out of 10. Because going back and listening to this whole thing, I was like, wow, there are some things on here that really shine, and the things that don't really necessarily shine fully for me still shine for me in general. Which I like things like tough songs like Take Back or Jinx. Those are songs to me like I wouldn't go back to all the time, but if they were on, I'm like, I'm not upset. I'm still hearing Nimrod. I'm still hearing Green Day. I'm very happy with it. And that's just where I'm at. So a solid 8.9 out of 10 for me. I know Kyle's like probably like, wait, he put it that high?
Where Kyle's head is right now, it looks like the name of the album is Nimrod. Nimrod.
He is Nimrod.
If you don't know, Nimrod is actually from the Bible too. I don't know if anyone knows where the name Nimrod came from, but
I don't know where it came
he was
from.
an Egyptian kind of like ruler.
Okay.
Nimrod. Yeah, and a lot of people are like, oh, Nimrod's just something you call somebody when they're being an idiot, whatever. But yeah, like a little trivia for those who didn't ask. I mean, wanted to know.
Cool. Good to know. Good to know. Well, listen, listen. So that's gonna do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for watching, listening. However you enjoyed us tonight. I want to thank Mike and Kyle for both doing this with me every week on Monday nights. You know them, you love them. We love to see it, and the two of them are just great musical nerds. I mean, love to nerd out together. That's wonderful. But I want to thank Mike and Kyle for joining me as always. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this YouTube channel. We do this every Monday night in the evening-ish, like 5 o'clock-ish, EST. Tune in there. And if you haven't already, follow us on podcast format as well. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and don't be a Nimrod. Don't worry. You're not, though. But thank you so much for watching, listening. However you enjoyed us. Tune in next week for another episode of Career Retrospectives. So stay safe